Let's keep that round of applause going for Chris Wright.
How's everyone doing? I can't tell you how good it feels to be up here. My parents were so supportive when I told them I was doing this show. Do you know how big of a barrier having good parents is to stand-up comedy? All the greats had some terrible scandal, or were concealing depression, those lucky stiffs. Think about what you've heard tonight. How is a happy and well-adjusted mind supposed to compete with that? I was doomed from the start. Both parents at home, a dog, all the organic produce I could ever eat. I was being groomed to be a doctor or a politician, at least the club owner here. Mom raised my sister and I on skim milk. That's not the joke, but all right. She raised us on skim milk because she wanted us to be healthy, but not strong enough to fight back when she said we could have dried fruit instead of gushers. By the way this woman talked, I thought that GMO was the name of a terrorist organization, or an STD, or a group of terrorists with STDs. If they had taught me that a GMO looked like a golden doodle instead of a freakishly large chicken, I would have joined the dark side years ago. Don't get me wrong, I do love my organic produce, but there's a can of Cheese Whiz that I hide underneath the kale leaves when Mom comes to visit. Growing up, my sister and I had two words that would end any argument between us. And these weren't happy words like love you or I'm sorry. These were words that cut you so deep that you would go to your room and process every memory you've ever had, thus ending the fight. Those words were, "You're adopted." And it worked. My sister has different colored eyes than either of our parents. And in 2005, I looked like a Filipino child that would have made Bradgelina salivate. My parents, by the way, not Filipino. I don't think they've even been to the Philippines, unless my sister was right about my origin story. One day at dinner, my sister looked up, looked at our parents and said, "Mom, Dad, why don't Chris or I have the same nose as either of you?" And they looked up, looked at each other, and looked right back down at their non-GMO chicken as if nobody had said a word. From that point on, the adoption line felt a little too real to use in arguments. We had fun with it, though. They would tell us to clean our room, we'd yell, "You're not my real mom," and go play with our toys. They let it slide for a little bit, but after a while, Santa Claus brought us 23andMe for Christmas, just so we'd finally shut up. Turns out they were our parents, and they've never been to the Philippines. This data gave me a lot of interesting information. I found out I'm half British. I immediately looked up where I am in line for the throne. Uncle Charles is old, and I must be prepared for my imminent and shocking coronation. I found out I am equal parts Italian and Irish, which probably explains why I switch between olive oil and butter when I cook, and why I only talk with one of my hands. Maybe that's how I got funny. I mean, really, what could be stronger than a mother's love? Turns out the answer is generations of struggle and trauma. Thank God my ancestors dealt with that, so I could eat dried fruit and believe in Santa Claus until I went to college. I met a girl and things are going great. She's Jewish, which means that between the two of us, we have friendly territory from Wall Street, up through Little Italy, onto the East Village, and even the Upper West Side. Once we adopt a Chinese baby, We will have everything from 96th Street down as fair game. And when it's time, that Chinese baby is being married off to a Spaniard so that I can claim Spanish Harlem and complete my conquest of Manhattan. Turns out, adoption's the move. My favorite part of the data was at the very bottom. After scrolling through all the boring European countries, I found the magic number. 2.9% Northern African. I had always heard that mixed-race children were prettier, and I have never looked better than the day I got those results. I just wish I had them in time for college admissions. Do you know how defeating it is to apply to the Ivy League, get to the demographics section, and have to click white man? Ah! If I had known of my strong African lineage, you better believe I would have been clicking that option with one hand and sticking a Harvard sign on the front lawn with the other. I'm just glad my sister's results matched. I mean, can you imagine how strong her adoption argument would be if I was the only African child in a family of Europeans? Guys, you've been as supportive as my parents tonight. Thank you so much.
Chris Wright, everyone.